Good evening, everybody. Good evening once again.
Good
Good evening,
evening.
sir.
Good evening, Madam Olivia. You're welcome. Welcome to today's class. How was your day? Madam Olivia,
Yes, good evening.
good evening. Welcome to today's class. How was your day?
Yeah, thank you. My day was good.
All right, all right. You're
Good
welcome
to
to
be
this
back.
class.
How
It's
are
good to be
you?
back. I'm fine. I'm fine. It's good to have you back. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I welcome everybody again to this is the third day of the class. We started on Wednesday, yesterday, Thursday, today, Friday, and I believe everything is going on well. Before we go into what we have today, what we are going to do, we are going to merge the mode. We are going to look at the third mode, the third module, and also the fourth module today. It's not much, so we might exit 8 or we might not reach 8 o'clock, however the case may be, because it's not really much. You can see maybe 6 slides for both of them. So let's go ahead. Now, before we go, I'll call on someone to do the recap for us, what we did yesterday, to summarize everything that we did yesterday. Madam Olivia, help us out. What we did yesterday, can you summarize everything we did yesterday? Madam Olivia, can you summarize what we did yesterday? Anything you got yesterday? Okay, maybe she's all right. Madam Kuzan, Madam Kuzan, can you help us out?
Okay, so think for me, two things which I took from yesterday, looking at the different theories, um, and the Janet Piaget's
Piaget.
theory, yes, of cognitive development stood out for me, especially it had to do with the 4 stages of cognitive development, and the theory says that until you have gone through the 4 stages, you have not reached the human intelligence,
Yes.
uh, where you, as a child, you have to go through the different stages. The 4 stages was the try to remember the first one had to do with there was one sensory,
Motto.
then motor skills, and then looking at what they see and what they feel, what they touch, if I'm correct. Um, and then also we also looked at different uh way observations, um well, I think it was observation, profile, and checklist, which looks at how you observe the child, what the child does, like documenting every milestone of the child, documenting what the child does, response to events, you know. And then you had the checklist whereby you tick or you observe the child and take cognizance of milestones they have reached. So at a particular age, you're supposed to have reached a certain milestone or a particular, age. Then you have the profile where the child has like an album basically, or a folder of everything that has to do with the child. So for me, those were the two things, looking at the theories. The other theories that I can't really mention the name because some of the terminologies are quite tongue twisting. But you had the one that
Okay.
do this cultural theory, looking at first within the house, the immediate environment. Then you had the theory that looked at, outside that immediate environment. Um, and the behaviors of the child, looking at those, things that the child picks up, either First, from within the home, and then that's the first nuclear, or from outside the normal environment of the child. So social behavior and the cognitive, for me, I feel, and also from what I picked from yesterday's, they are all important because for a child, going through that development stage, the 4 stages of cognitive development, and then it also looks at the way the child, social interaction of the child, how the child picks what we do, what the child sees, and it forms what the child or how the child relates at the 4th or final stage, which is, I think, operational stage. Yes, so from birth, which is let me see if I can still remember, which is the sensory motor.
Sensorimotor, yes.
Yes, that's from about ages 0 to 2 months, where you look at
Yes.
the child experiences the senses, the movements. That's when it's the child sucking the thumb, reflex of the child, and things like that. Then you now can mobility. Sorry, I put mixing everything up.
Mm.
Yes, basically, and then you now have the operation is the last one, right? Yes, but basically the 4 stages of cognitive development for me stood out, and also when you're looking at the observation, the checklist, and the profile. Okay, yes, I remember one, the pre-operational stage, which is from 2 years to 7, where
Okay.
children think about then they now pretend like that's when you see them talking to themselves. They are doing some pretend to be, they talk to themselves, or they do this monologue with kids, amongst themselves. They think about things symbolically, and that's the stage they become egocentric, yes. And then they use objects to represent things, and then that's when their curiosity begins to, like really set in. And then you have the something operation.
The concrete
Um,
operational
yes,
stage.
thank you. Where the child begins to think logically, then that's from
Okay.
ages, I think it's 7 to 10, to 7 to
11.
11. Yes, where they now classify things and say this one belongs here. They are more conservative. They look at concrete events. Their curiosity has taken another dimension, and they are begin to be a little bit logical. They induce thoughts, and then the way they view others, their view of others within that concrete state. Then you have the formal operations. Yes, formal operations, which is from 12 till 18, and then they become where now they now understand, and they are able to deduce. Their reasoning is more developed, more abstract, and they're able to now look at things. They can think. They are able to or let's say they are more logical, scientific, they're more calculated at that stage. Yes, and then you now look at how you can observe the child from yes, and then other colleagues shared interesting. Yes, so that's what we learned. Yes, what I learned yesterday, and it's been quite engaging and really interesting to see or that it breaks down not just for the children, but how we also had grown from when we were babies and the different steps we took to where we are right now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam Kuzan. It's not easy. Our kids and young adults, they should really appreciate their mothers, appreciate their aunties, appreciate their uncles. It's not easy. You've been toiling since morning, and yet still you can still say this. Nice one, ma. Nice one. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for helping Madam Phoebe to understand some things that we did yesterday. All right. Now, moving ahead to today's class, Module 3. Module 3 talks about curriculum planning and pedagogy. curriculum planning and pedagogy skills or pedagogy strategies. Now, first of all, what is curriculum? We have been hearing curriculum. Our children, they go to school, we hear their curriculum. Even in secondary school, we hear curriculum. Even at times, even though I don't know about the rest of us, but I don't know, some of us, we went to public school, federal universities, state universities. Some of our lecturers expose us to the curriculum, expose us to the scheme and all that. But some did not. They only come and tell us what we have that day and they move on. So, but in the context of our lesson, our learning, our session, we are talking about curriculum, child curriculum. If I may ask, and I want to ask, Madam Phoebe, you've been hearing of curriculum. I know you, I don't know whether you're a mother, but I believe you should be a mom. And when they come back, you do check what they do, check what they taught them in school, how it's going on, either your niece, your nephew, as the case may be. And what do you think curriculum is? What is curriculum to you? Madam Phoebe, yes.
Thank you. We're three in the university already. Yes, sir. Actually, to me, I feel curriculum has to do with the breakdown of the different subjects, the way it's been taken, the objectives, and also what is expected, what we expect to learn at the end of a particular topic. So curriculum is very important because it helps us to actually visualize a subject and it also helps us in planning our subjects, planning our teachings, and it's just like a guide. In generality, curriculum is a guide that helps a teacher to be able to achieve classroom objectives.
All right. Thank you so much,
you.
Ma. Thank you. You have
Yes.
the idea. You have the idea. Thank you so much. Now, curriculum is a structured plan that outlines the content, learning objectives, instructional strategies, and assessment method for a specific educational program or subject, course, or particular level of education. Now, on curriculum is a roadmap for teaching, learning, guiding educators and learners through a comprehensive and organized educational experience. Now, there are elements that must be in a curriculum. Don't just bring out curriculum because you feel that the child, there are things that must be there. There are things that must be there in the curriculum. We call them the elements of curriculum. They must be there. Number one, learning objectives. Learning objective or objectives. This specifies the knowledge, skills, and abilities that the child is expected to achieve to get at the end of the whole subject, at the end of the whole educational session. Just as we are doing now. You can see that before we went into this, we had module 1, module 2, module 3, down up to 11. Where is the last module for this course? You discover that each of them, that's why at the end of the class, like when we started today, I asked, what did you learn yesterday? What did you learn yesterday? The first day, what did you learn? And so on and so forth. It is the learning objective. There must be something that after you put all these skills together, this knowledge, ability, there must be something that is expected of you to learn. That is the objective. That is the aim of this whole, let me put it this way, professional diploma in early childhood education. Now, the second one is the content. The content. The first one was learning objectives, the aim, the goal, what's your achievement, what will you achieve at the end of the whole course. Then the second one is the content. The content. Topics, concepts, and themes that will be covered. Topics that will be covered, that will be taught to the child, concept that will be taught to the child, and themes that will be covered throughout the whole session. The next one is instructional strategies. Instructional strategies. These are the methods that you, the teacher, you, the educator, you, the provider, you, the minder, you, the teacher, as the case, parents. This is the instructional method that you apply, the approach that you apply, such as you know, the way you teach, the way you gather them to do group work, you give them projects and other things. Now, the next one is the assessment. As assessment, you give them assignments, you give them tests, you give them observation, you give them diagrams, things that you assess them from what you've given to them. You test them based on what you have given to them. Then the next one is the resources. The resources you use in impacting this knowledge. What are the resources? Did you take them out to the environment? They learned from what they saw outside. They use textbook. Do they use anything? Even we have the multimedia now. We have the AI. Did they use AI? Did they use what do you call it? Rhyming skills. This one, watch that. A is for apple. B and all that. Okay, the next one is differentiation. Differentiation. Your curriculum must carry different interests. It must carry needs, diverse needs, interests, and ability of the child, and the abilities of different children there, different learners there. It must carry different abilities and provide opportunities for them to learn. The next one is, and the last under this is evaluation and revision. Evaluation and revision. There is no how a curriculum can be complete without evaluation and revision. Time after time, you go back periodically to review what you have done, how effective, whether it aligns with the educational standard and best practices. You go back and review whether the child has actually understood what you have been doing all this while. Curriculum serves as a blueprint, a guide, just as Madam Phoebe said. Then some people will say it is, some people do call it note of lesson. For the teacher, they will say it's note of lesson. Some people do call it like that. Some people do call it scheme of work. But the fact is that it must be a structured plan that carries the learning objectives, that carries the content, that carries the instructional strategies, that carries assessment, carries resources, differentiation, and finally, evaluation and revision. That is curriculum. Now, if I want to ask Madam Olivia, what is curriculum planning? We heard curriculum, Madam Phoebe told us about curriculum, and we added some to it. Then what is curriculum planning? Madam Olivia, what is curriculum planning? Madam Olivia? Madam Olivia? Okay, Madam Kuzan, can you help us? What is curriculum planning? What do you think from your own knowledge? Curriculum planning.
I think curriculum planning in the sense of it is how or the way you are able to put together, your curriculum. That's the guideline or your learning path for the children. Let's say, for example, you're teaching a certain class. You want to looking at the different contents, the different steps of a curriculum. You want to look at the content. You want to look at the children you have, the different styles to imbibe in your way, pick the different approaches. Yes. So how you are able to look at your assessments, you take your different approaches and then come up with your learning path for the children. So it's that process of developing that learning path, I would say, is curriculum planning.
All right. Thank you, ma. Thank you so much. Thank you for that contribution. You are in line with what is we are doing. Curriculum planning is the process of designing, developing, as Madam Kuzan said, is the process of designing, developing, implementing, and evaluating a curriculum to ensure it meets the need of the children and achieve the desired educational outcome. Now, there are key elements that makes the planning complete, makes your plan, whatever you've written down, the plans, the curriculum plans to be complete. We've just similar to the curriculum is assessment that we've talked about, goal setting, the content selection and organization as we've talked about, the instructional design, we've talked about that, implementation, evaluation, revision, and continuous improvement. We've talked about that. All right, let's move ahead. Let's move ahead. All right. Now, our based on this is from BCC UK, Blessed Cosmopolitan College UK. This is the framework. This is an example. This is how their curriculum is. This is how they plan their curriculum. You can see this is foundation. You have the core principles, planning, and learning approaches. Now, over here, you have the early years foundation stage, ELF framework, UK setting. Now, under the core, when we talk about core, we are talking about facts. The facts, that is core principle. So if you look at it, the first core principle we have here is child-centered learning. Okay, let me check. There's the chat. Let me see. Okay, Madam Olivia says she has issues, network issues. Okay, all right. Let's go on. Now, the first core principle, core simply means facts. The main thing you are supposed to learn, the factual thing. Child-centered learning. Whatsoever you are planning, it must be centered around the child. The interest of the child, what stimulates the child, everything that concerns the child, not you. That is some of the mistakes that we teachers in those days we used to do. We form our curriculum or our scheme of work or our note of lesson in such a way that it suits us, whether it is within the range of the interest of the child or not. We just do it to fulfill all righteousness due to one reason or the other. But due to the way the world is now, it's no longer like that. And especially if you have supervisors that supervises you and sees what you are doing, that they go check your notes, check the scheme, see how it's going, look at the standard, and you are not following, you will have issues. So when you are preparing, that's why you see some schools, ministry, they go for inspection based on those people that they are not after envelope. You know, there is an issue that goes on in Nigeria here. When they come for inspection, they just, come to the office. Forget about going to, you are not going to the classrooms. You are not inspecting the note of lesson. You are not inspecting the scheme of work. You are not inspecting the register, the diaries and all that. You are not interested in that. You just go to the office. The director or the owner or the chairman, as the case may be, whoever is leading the school, calls you to the office or calls the director, the head, the person in charge of the team. This is your envelope. Close the mouth of your team members. Close their mouth. And it ends there. But we want to do the right thing. So if we want to do the right thing, it's whatsoever we do must center around their interests, what motivates them to learn, everything that concerns the child. The first one is the developmentally appropriate activities. Activities that develops them. Activities that develops them appropriately in the right way. You bring in things that you know that will develop them. Play-based learning. Where we were talking about the very first day we started, that was Wednesday on the 26th, we talked about play-based learning. Play. There is no how curriculum will be complete without play. They must play and learn from the play they engage in. I made an illustration of back then when I was, we were invited, some of us, we were invited to be part of a team went on supervision and went to one of the Montessori schools over there in Lagos. We went over there to one of the Montessori schools. I won't mention the name. And when we got to the school, they said this is a Montessori school, based on the idea of we've learned the Montessori settings. And we went there with a white man. And when we got there with the school, we looked at their schedule, talking about the curriculum. We looked at their schedule, looked at their times table, looked at how they did it. And we discovered that they allocated just 30 minutes. If they are spending 8 hours in school, assuming they are spending 8 hours in school, and 30 minutes is allocated for play. Maybe the first break, we have the long and the short break. I don't know how they do it now. But the long and the short break, the long break, they allocate 30 minutes. Altogether, it's 30 minutes. That is the long break, 20 minutes, the short break, 10 minutes. It is no school in United Kingdom will approve that. Immediately, whether you are good academically or you are doing well, you are excelling, your school will be shut down. Why? Because you don't allocate time for play. That is how the standard is now. You must allocate 40 to 1 hour. If it is 40, you are allocating 40 minutes for the long break, then the remaining short break should be 20 minutes. And also in the class, you are doing things that brings us, they play in the class. Concentration is there, but some people say when they play too much, there will not be concentration. You give them things that they like, they will concentrate on that thing. Like if you put on, if you want them to, you are doing the little ones, they are listening to these rhyming skills, rhyming songs, they are listening to stories, you know, they will sit down, even though it's like there are things of interest there. Or you tell them sit around, there is fire. There's something we used to do in those days. There's a fire on the mountain, round, 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 a big, big fire, round, round, round. Fire is off. Something like that. That will give them interest. That will give them interest. So they said that play-based learning, it must be included. Now, when you tell them there is fire on the mountain, round, 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 what are you? You are teaching them something in mathematics. And what goes round? Cycle goes round. That is what you've just taught them. They've learned from there. Now, engaging and stimulating environment. The environment must be engaging, must be stimulating, that we want to attract them to learn. You know, things that you put there must are curious. They are curious. They want to know what this is. They want to know what that is. Just like magnet, you have magnet. Attract them. Come and learn. Then the next one, the planning. We've talked about the planning. We consider the children's age, interest, and development. We balance between all early years foundation stage learning areas. We'll see them after now. The next slide covers the stages or the areas. Now, integrate play opportunities. We've just talked about that. Design engaging and well-planned activities. Then we have the learning approaches. Play-based, you see, everything is talking about play. Everything is talking about them learning from play. Not too much concentration. There are times you go out of point, even when you play. We used to say we used to say this in those days. There were two little blackbirds sitting on the wall. One named Peter, one named Paul. Fly away, Peter, fly away, Paul. Come back, Peter, come back, Paul. Come back, the two blackbirds, and sit on the wall. You know, when you tell them, you develop, you arouse their learning. They want to learn. Now you discover that you told them they were two. You've counted for them 1, 2. One flew away. One has gone. How many is left? One. The other one joined. How many is left? Nothing is left. Now the two of them came back. How many? 2. You've taught them. They are learning. They are learning. Now children learn through active exploration. Role of educators. You know, facilitate play experience. Everything is talking about play. Learning through play. Inquiry-based learning. They make them inquisitive. Make them want to know. You know, some of our children, they like asking questions. They like asking questions. And when they ask like that, they learn. See, children ask questions, investigate, discover. Open-ended question, project-based learning. We've seen all this. Now, this we talked about the early years foundation stages. Now, this outlines 7 key areas of learning that all early years providers must support. Now, the first one, this is another thing they come to check. When they come for inspection and they discover that these 7 key areas of learning are not there, sorry, your school will be closed. Your school will be closed. Communication and language, physical development, personal, social, and emotional development, literacy, mathematics, understanding the world, expressive arts, and design. These are the 7 key areas of learning for early age providers. These are the 7 ways, the 7 key areas that must be there. Communication and language, physical development, personal, social, and emotional development, literacy, mathematics, understanding the world, expressive arts, and design. Now let's look at this. Let's look, even though okay, let's just see it. Let me see. Madam Phoebe, are you still with us? Madam Phoebe. Madam Phoebe, from your own understanding, I want you to, if you are asked what is pedagogy.
Yes, sir. I'm here, sir.
Okay, ma. From your own understanding, what do you think?
I'm with you, sir.
Okay, are you hearing me? Are you hearing me, Madam Phoebe?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay.
I can hear you, sir.
All right. From your own understanding, from your own end, what do you think pedagogy is? Pedagogy, what do you think it is?
Okay. Pedagogy, I believe, is students learn.
Sorry, ma?
Using different learning styles. Hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Hello, sir.
I'm with you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Madam Phoebe?
Okay, sir. So I said it is the art. Yes, sir. I said pedagogy. Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, go on.
I can hear you, sir. Yes, sir. I feel pedagogy is just like the art and science of teaching, and also using different methods and practices to help students learn better. Using different teaching styles, assessments, and feedbacks to be able to gain more strength in your classrooms.
All right. Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma. Madam Kuzan, can you add to that?
Okay, so just to add to, I just feel in layman's term, pedagogy is just the approaches, the different approaches to teaching. Basically looking at the practice of learning, the process itself, how it's influenced, looking at just different approaches in which people can learn. I think that is just layman's term.
Okay, thank you, ma. Thank you so much, Madam Phoebe. Thanks so much, Madam Kuzan. I don't know, Madam Olivia. Okay, all right. So basically,
Yes.
okay, Madam Olivia, can you add to that?
Yes, I think what they've all said is basically it. It's just an approach or a teaching style adopted by probably educators that helps them to make kids understand or to teach kids in a different approach or in a different way.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. You've all said well. You've all said well. You've all answered well. Now, pedagogy in child's development refers to the principle, practices, and strategies used by teachers, educators, caregivers to support and enhance children's learning and development, just as you have said. This is the art and practice of learning and teaching strategy, as you just said. Now, what are the key aspects of pedagogy in child's development? One, understanding child development. You must understand child development. Two, active learning, social and emotional development, inclusive and differentiation. See, most of these things we already talked about it before. Assessment and feedback, collaboration and communication, reflection and professional development, just as what you are doing right now. So it has to do with just the basically put together everything that all of us have said. These are the teaching strategies that is used to impact knowledge in the child. Now, it has 4 practical domains. There are 4 practical domains of pedagogy. The first one is the learning. The second one is the behavioral. Then the next one is the knowledge, and finally, teaching. Can someone explain learning in pedagogy? I'm going to call. I can hear, okay. I'm going to call now because we are all learning. I'm also learning too. Who do I call? Okay, Madam Phoebe. Madam Phoebe, when you say learning, the domain learning, what is learning in pedagogy?
Learning, generally, actually, I'm not an education inclined person.
Okay.
I just diverted. I'm a public administration graduate.
Okay,
so, learning as from my own point of view, I feel it's just, it has to do with achieving results.
Okay.
You are in a classroom, you are teaching a child. Now, this is what we need to learn. How far are we going? What steps are we taking to achieve those results? So learning has to do with the different steps, methods, approaches, and styles we use in making our learners understand the basic principles of a particular topic.
All right. Thank you
so
so
as to
much.
achieve results.
Thank you so much, Madam Phoebe. Thank you for that contribution. Yes. Thank you so much. Learning in pedagogy refers to the process of acquiring new knowledge, skills, and attitude. The new knowledge, skills, attitude, and values through various levels of education. It covers the domains, the developmental domains, talking about the cognitive domain, the cognitive theory, the development, cognitive development, social development, emotional and physical development. Everything that has to do with acquiring new knowledge, knowledge as a whole, getting to know more things is learning as a whole. Then the next one, we have the behavioral pedagogy. Madam Kuzan, please help us out. Behavioral pedagogy.
So I would say behavioral, maybe let's say learning, which is maybe teacher-centric. Would I be right to say that? Looking at you're looking using like different don't even know how to put it. Your teaching style is more teacher-centric. Yeah. Your approach to is more teacher-centric. Unlike when it's maybe child-centric or topic-based approach also. I think I'm confusing the whole thing, but something here, maybe teacher-centric and looking at the teacher as the sole authority in the class. I don't know if I'm right, but it's more teacher-centric. The teacher is the one that takes control, whatever, it's centered around the teacher than around the child or the environment, I guess. Something
Okay,
like
okay. Thank you, Ma. Thank you for the contribution. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, it's actually an approach to teaching and learning that focuses on understanding and shaping the child's behavior. It's an approach to teaching and learning that focuses on understanding and shaping the child's behavior to promote positive outcomes and improve overall learning experiences. Now, this is the stage where the teacher focuses more on the behavior of the child, of the children, of the pupils. It focuses on them such that wants to promote those positive outcomes in the child. It focuses most on the character, attitude, everything that is stemmed under behavior of the child. This is where you used to, this is the part where the teacher uses he uses positive reinforcement. What am I talking about? An encouragement. This is the aspect where he plays on the behavioral psychology of the child. Now, the positive reinforcement and the teacher makes use of praise. The child goes out, go and do this, go and solve this mathematics, go and read this, go and answer this question. And when the child comes, you praise the child, you've done well. This is where the child does well. You say, okay, I've given you a star. These are the kind of, you're working on the behavioral aspect of that child, just to shape that child. Okay, the next one is knowledge. Madam Olivia, knowledge in pedagogy. Pedagogy, knowledge, Madam Olivia.
Okay, so I don't know if I have an idea, but I feel it's a teaching approach where the teacher focuses on impacting knowledge in the child through various means and various approaches. And the aim is to get the child to understand or to impact knowledge in the child.
Good,
Yeah, thanks.
good, good,
Yeah.
good, good. And you said you don't know if you have the knowledge. You have the knowledge. Okay, all right. The knowledge here refers to the content, the skills, and the concepts that the child are expected to learn within the given curriculum or educational level. The skills, knowledge, as the term knowledge refers to content, skills, concept, themes, topics, everything that the child is supposed to learn within a given curriculum. Then the last but not the least, after this, we'll go on a break. Then when we come back, we go into module 4. Module 4 is very short, we won't take time, maybe 30 minutes. We might not stay up to 8 o'clock today. All right. So the next one is teaching. Where did Madam Phoebe go to now? Did she know that I was going to call her? Okay. All right. The next one is teaching in pedagogy. Madam Kuzan, help us out. Teaching in pedagogy.
I think it's the direct meaning what teaching is to impact knowledge. So what style do you use to impact that knowledge? The approach do you use to impact it on the child or the children? Should be the teaching. What do you use? What approach do you use to impact that knowledge or the content you have on the child? So yes, I think if I'm not wrong, I think yeah.
Okay, and actually you're not wrong. You're not wrong, you're right. You're not wrong, you're right. Now, this is the systematic process of impacting knowledge. This is the approaches the teacher or the educator, the minder, the provider uses, parents included, uses to impact knowledge. This is where in schools, you now hear lesson planning, lesson notes has come in. That's where you hear lesson notes, lesson planning, That's where you hear instructional strategies, instructional materials, you have behavioral, objective, and things like that. You have the classroom management. That is where it comes in. Differentiated instruction. That is where it comes in. Assessment and feedback. Feedbacks or feedback. That is where this comes in. Madam Nkem, good evening, ma. Madam Nkem, good evening. Madam Nkem, good evening. Okay, so the last we are looking at before we go on break, we talked about the pedagogy and we said
good evening.
Good evening,
Good
ma.
evening.
You're welcome. You're welcome, ma. Oh, maybe network. She's having issues. Network issues. Okay, so we just looked at the pedagogy approach. We said this is the teaching strategy. Just to sum everything up, this is the act and practice of learning and teaching strategies. And we said it has 4 domains. It has 4 domains. The first one is the learning, which we looked at it. The second one, behavior. The third one, knowledge. And the last but not the least, everything that involves a teacher. Everything that involves someone that is impacting knowledge. The way you impact the knowledge, the steps, whatever method, whatever approach you use in achieving your aim. And your aim is to impact knowledge. So whatever method you use under the term teaching. So at this time, it's already 7 o'clock. It's 6:59 from my end. At this point, we'll go on a break, just 15 minutes break, 7:15, because you've gone to work since morning. I would not want to go directly 2 hours. You know, some of us will get tired and all that. So let's use 15 minutes, we stretch our legs. Then once it's 7:15, we come back and we wrap up today's class. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Kuzan, Madam Phoebe, Madam Olivia, are we back?
Yes.
Okay, welcome back. Madam Phoebe, Madam Phoebe, Madam Olivia. Okay, all right. I believe we can continue. Now look at Module 4. Module 4 talks about supporting literacy and numeracy development. That is what it's talking about. We can look at it. This particular module is short, very short. So in the next 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes will be done. Now the strategies are, we've said it before, making it playful and engaging. We've talked about how we make our delivery, our teaching playful and engaging, building on children's interests, building on areas where fascinates them. We've talked about creating a rich learning environment. Not just any kind of environment determines learning. So if you create any kind of environment, you will get the learning that is expected from that kind of environment. Creating a rich learning environment is very important in a child's educational life. Now we talked about positive reinforcement. Let me ask an open question. Madam Kuzan, how do you reinforce your children positively? Or if you have nephews, you have nieces, how do you reinforce them positively? Positive reinforcement and encouragement. How do you do that?
Sorry, can you say it again? You were breaking up. I didn't get you.
Okay, what I was trying to say is that I said, how, assuming maybe you have kids, maybe you have nephews, cousins, niece, as the case, maybe even from that of your friends' children, how do you reinforce them positively and encourage them positively?
Sorry, I was talking. I didn't realize that the mic.
Okay.
So it's would I use the word like saying carrot and in management, you say carrot and stick,
Okay.
where you give rewards for positive behaviors, or you give something a positive reward. You give a reward for something good. Like you say, if you're able to read or count 1 to 10, I would give you maybe an apple. Or something like that. So I would say it's a process of encouraging or like establishing that, by offering a reward, you want to encourage good behavior, or, encourage the child to behave in a positive way, in a good way. Let's say good behavior. And then you reward the child, like give some reward at the end of it. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Exactly. The positive reinforcement is a kind of praise, a kind of appreciation, a kind of reward that you give to a child after the child must have done a particular thing that pleases you. So at times, as we said, that, as Madam Kuzan said, the child count from 1 to 10. I have this apple or I have these biscuits to give to you. So that is positive reinforcement and encouragement. Let's go to the next one. All right. Language and literacy development. This one has to do with promoting language and literacy skills, promoting language and literacy development. How do we do that? How do we promote those children? How do we promote them, their language, literacy, how they can read and write? How? How do we do that? Number one, reading aloud to children regularly. Reading aloud to them regularly. The child learns from what he hears and also what he sees, or what he or she sees. They learn from those things and the environment. So in terms of the right of writing and languages, read to them. A is for this, they start forming words. How? By reading to them. Read aloud. Don't just read, but you read aloud to their hearing and to a level of their understanding. Regularly, always, incessantly, frequently. And the next one, engaging in conversations and storytelling. There is no child that does not love, or let me put it this way, there's no child that doesn't like storytelling. In those days, they'll gather us and tell us in the class, especially when our teachers are teaching, they just break a bit, that 5 minutes, and they start telling us stories. Oh, you see, everybody will sit down, will tell us that this is what happened. Okay, for you to get the remaining part of the story, concentrate. And you see, everybody will be busy doing what they are doing because they want to get the end, what happened at the end, the tail end of the story. So these are the kind of things you bring in, engaging in conversation. You talk with them, you are telling them stories. As you are telling them stories, they are learning. They are building their languages, they are building words, they are building their sentences, they are building statements. Providing opportunity for pretend play and dramatic play. We have said that before. Creating a print-rich environment with books labels and charts. Of course, I said immediately they enter the environment. The first thing, they look at the environment first of all. When they look at the environment, that is where they are learning the thoughts of learning. They start thinking. What the magnet is attracting them, trying to attract them. It's trying to attract them. Then they go into the class, they look at the books, not torn books, books that are bandaged. How do I put it? Not bandaged, but books that they use sellotape, use sellotape to wrap and keep it on the shelf. When they look at it like that, it's discouraging. It's discouraging. But they have books that are neat, beautiful, labeled. They have chart labeled. As they are going, there's an arrow that this is grade 1. Move again. This is grade 2. This is the hall. This is the refectory. This is the dining hall, and so on and so forth. And they have chart that tells them that everything is drawn there. A is for this, B is for this, C is for this. Times table, multiplication table is there. Father, mother, culture, The next one, incorporating literacy activities into play, like writing shopping lists for dramatic plays. Writing shopping lists for dramatic plays. Then we have the main one that comes to our mind. This is where most of the schools, no offense, and with all due respect to all schools, this is a particular aspect of a child's life that most schools, they fail to acknowledge. They fail to address this part. Madam, let me see. Madam Nkem. Madam Nkem, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, you can get me now. You can hear me now, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, welcome to
I can
class.
hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We are talking about mathematical concepts and skills, mathematical concepts and skills development. Now, this is an aspect that most schools, whether Montessori, International, the conventional nursery and primary schools, they fail to acknowledge in child's development. Why is it like that? Can you explain to us? Why? Why is it like that?
Okay. I feel that part of the problem that most of these schools have is lack of the necessary skills in teaching mathematics. Mathematics is seen as the most
Sorry, you're
difficult
breaking up. We
subject.
can't hear you. I don't know if I'm the only one.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Madam Nkem. Madam Kuzan, can you hear her? Madam Kuzan. Okay, go on, Madam Nkem. Go on.
Yes, there are a lot of concepts that are needed in teaching mathematics that most schools don't look at. And some of these teachers don't have these skills and the technical know-how of teaching mathematics. So because of that, they might end up choosing familiar or simpler topics and neglecting the rest in the curriculum for the child. So that's why sometimes those children might even be doing well in terms of the school assessment and all of that. But when they are exposed to external examinations and all of that, they end up failing mathematics. So the reason is that most of these schools don't hire people who have the knowledge and the technical know-how or expertise in teaching mathematics using different mathematical concepts that the children can relate with. And again, they don't make mathematics look like what children see in their everyday life.
Good.
Like when they want to teach mathematics, they make it look like something very abstract and very far away, something the children cannot relate with. But if it starts from their games, their simple puzzles and other things they do in games and other things, they see mathematics as part of their everyday life. When they line up, when they queue up for this, when they do this, everything they are doing, if they can feel mathematics, they will know that the person that is cooking is doing calculations for ingredients. That's mathematics. The person that is trekking to school, that is time now. The person is also, there's something that is in relationship with our everyday life. It will make mathematics very interesting to these children, and they would like to learn more. So most times the school don't look at this, and that's why that aspect is really suffering.
Wow, thank you. That is an I wrote something out of what you said. Wonderful. That's good. Awesome, Madam Nkem. Madam, that's good from your perspective. Madam Kuzan, can you add to what Madam Nkem said?
Okay, so the network was so bad, it was breaking badly. I really didn't hear what she was saying, and I kept on saying I can't hear, it's breaking. I don't know if I was even heard in the first place. So if you can just what the question was, and then I would give my own
Okay, sorry.
contribution.
Oh, sorry about the network issue. It happens like that. So we are talking about mathematical concepts and skills development. Why is it that this particular aspect is very, very important in the life of a child? Because if you miss if you miss the mathematical developmental stage in a child, there is no how that child, it takes a lot for that child to pick up later in life. So why is it that our educational setting now, talking about from grade down even up to the university level, they failed in this aspect? Why?
Okay, so I'll try not to be too technical in my response. I'll really try. But if we're to look at ab initio from even the way we were taught math when we were kids, it looked like this maths was this big mountain that you know, almighty maths, big numbers, they made it so scary. And I think also a mindset on the way the teachers to themselves were trained and the way those other teachers too were trained, to some degree. That even if you would get a teacher that's very qualified in teaching maths, the method in which or the approach in which that teacher learned how to or was trained when the teacher or the individual was doing, whether in teachers college or in the university or as the case may be, the way maths was taught to the person or was taught at that time or, was maths was seen as this very, was portrayed like a monster, like it's so scary, it is big, maths, the numbers, the calculations. There was nothing to soften it. There was nothing to, appease one. You just felt, oh, numbers. So at that time, I feel most of the teachers who were trained. But then recently, looking at the way teachers are now trained, some, because there's still some institutions that still have that same mindset or still same approach and attitude towards the way they teach teachers or which teachers are trained in math. And also you want to see an individual's opinion or attitude to where he or she has learned the math. That's the same way the teacher would, want to impact or implement it on, in the school or whatever. So even if the teacher is qualified, but the way the teacher learned or the way the person's attitude is towards maths, that's the same way the person will now put it on. But if the teacher doesn't have that mindset, sees math not as this almighty mountain, but using the systems and approaches they have nowadays, where you can use colors, you use objects, you incorporate play, whereby you put balls in a basket and then you say, when you take out one ball, the child takes the ball, drop it in another basket. You're teaching the child how to count, how to subtract. You now make it more interesting. Then you now find that, oh, so math, was never difficult. So I think in addition to what she said, I think apart from some teachers who are not really qualified, I think even the qualified ones, but then the mindset and then the way they view math and the way they were taught maths in its place, I tell my daughter that if I was taught maths the way they were taught maths now, honestly, I think I'd have been a guru in maths. But then the way, our teachers portrayed math to us, it looked scary. And then also our parents, the way they talk about maths, oh, maths is this almighty thing. But, I see it differently now. And of course, with learnings also. So I think for me, that's the reason why it's quite difficult. Maybe perceptions and attitudes and opinions should begin to change, irrespective of the trainings someone has. I could give you another example with a teacher who I know, very good, very excellent teacher. But then the way the teacher teaches maths, even myself, I think I can do better because the teacher puts the fear of God, in teaching the math. So, and I think the children now fear maths in such a way that like, no, you did it wrongly. And children at that stage, the way in which they are taught the first few sessions, that's the way their perception would, towards that particular thing in which they're learning. But yeah, I think that's for me, in my opinion, one reason why I think the teaching of maths was, yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam Kuzan. Thank you, Madam Kem. Madam Phoebe, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, this is really an interactive class. It's really an interactive one. But I would say I have taught maths for 21 years, or I've been teaching maths for 21 years.
Good.
So though my background, my primary secondary school was this strict, if you don't know maths, you will die today. That was what I grew up with. If you don't know maths, you are going to die, it will kill you. You have to know it. And I didn't really have that interest in mathematics, just the way my other colleagues have said. So when I graduated from secondary school, my first school, the first school I taught was like, madam, you have to focus on maths. I was like, hey, what I had been running away from. The man had to push me to the college of the school. So I now noticed that I did more of, I usually apply this playway method and using drama to inculcate, to make the class fun. Because our students and learners believe that math teachers will not make heaven. They have this mindset that math teachers will not make heaven, that they're always serious, they are these serious people, and that this. So I believe it depends on you helping your learners view another aspect of mathematics. If you can mix arts to mathematics, you can interweave mathematics with other subjects to make it easier for learners. Like the way I teach as a teacher, I make sure that I carry all my friends along. I make them my friends. I make sure I carry them along. And I start from moving from simple to complex forms, which not everybody have that patience. So patience as a mathematics teacher is also very, very important as teachers. So you being a teacher and trying to see that, okay, you must get it. It takes grace for a child to be able to understand some concepts in mathematics. Thank you very much.
All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Phoebe. Thank you. Thank you so much for that explanation. I got something from what Madam Kuzan said, what Madam Kem said, and Madam Phoebe. Mindset, patience, and making it playful and engaging. Madam Olivia, do you have what to add to that? Do you have anything that you want to add to that?
Yes, so I resonate with all that they have said. So I want to give an example. So
Okay.
I think the first day we mentioned a point as teachers not having the skill, and then also lack of motivation also cause some of the teachers not to do the right thing like deliberately. Now there's this organization in Ghana. They focus on early childhood education. They support KG teachers, that is early childhood educators, to support the children or to help women, locally women who haven't been to school, 100% illiterate women, on how to take care of their children, both in school and at home. So in the school, they involve the mothers into this by designing educational games that the mothers come to learn through the KG teachers, through the organization who goes to train the teachers, to train these mothers. So they come every day from Monday to Thursday to run these games or this play with the children. Now, what the organization does is that they provide them with the games, they provide them with they build their capacity, and then they also intend to build the mother's capacity to do this. Now, the only thing I see, sometimes, they go around for monitoring, and then some of the schools abandon the entire program. The reason being that they are not being paid, they are not giving extra pay for this extra work that has been given to them. But I mean, looking at the realities, it has made their work easy. That is the KG teachers, as mothers come to engage with their children. But then they still see the other side as they're not being given any extra pay or they being not motivated. Sometimes you go and then they are laying a whole lot of complaints. They don't have classrooms, their chairs are broken, there's no conducive environment for them to have these games. And then they lay a whole lot of complaints that in a way could be managed. So these educational games actually opens up the children at their age, though they are learning, especially mathematics. They are playing, but it goes a long way to help the children learn and solve mathematical problems. But because of these teachers not getting that motivation they feel they should have, you just go back and then they abandon the entire program. Maybe during the time you've taken them through, they get themselves into it. 2 to 3 weeks, they abandon the entire thing and they are stressed, and then they complain a whole lot because they don't get motivation. So I feel sometimes it's lack of motivation, lack of interest, as well as they not having the skill, because the teachers don't see the need why they should engage these children. They prefer their A for apple, B for ball kind of learning than to engage the children in these educational games where the children are able to, use the learner-centered approach to be able to do things for themselves and explore. They don't see the need. And these are some of the things that open the children up mathematically and other areas of their thinking. But this is what we face actually in reality. People don't want to go the extra mile to have these practical activities that open up the kids. So I feel these are some of the things.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Olivia. Thank you, Madam Kuzan, for that one. Thank you, Madam Phoebe. Thank you, Madam Kem. Well spoken well. These are things that we must really consider, and such that we don't make the same mistakes. The mistakes that our teachers they did. We don't make the same. We don't give out those same mistakes to our children, either as teachers, as parents, as early childhood provider, as the case may be. Now, look at what we have here: integrating math concepts into everyday routine, counting stairs, sorting laundries, and so on and so forth. Just like Madam Kuzan rightly said, that you put balls, pack balls. Maybe you want to teach them counting, and you pack balls, you put them in the basket, remove one, go to that side. How many like that. You're teaching them the basic operations in mathematics, which is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Using manipulatives like building blocks, counters, and puzzles. In fact, this puzzle is very, very important. Very, very important. It makes them to think. Their reasoning becomes very, very fast. I visited the school. I went to pick my boy from the school, and I saw this child, though he's in grade 4, I saw him trying to fix the puzzle. I stood, it was, they scattered it, and he was trying to get the right way, the way they bought it for him. I was looking at him. This boy took, I wanted to go, but because of the way he was doing the thing, I called my own son, stand, watch this guy. Do you know the boy stood there, one after he will do it this way, they not work, he'll do it this way, do it that way, do it that way. And finally he got it. He made, he got the puzzle the right way. And the teacher came from where the teacher was and saw that he instead of the teacher to go, he just stood with the child until the child was able to do, or we also stood and watched the child until he was able to do that. You see, he's learning from using that puzzle. He's learning from building. We buy them building blocks. Me, I did not know. I did not know as a father. I said, oh, Daddy, I want building blocks. I myself, I did not know. Until I'll see them, they arrange it this way, use it to form numbers, use it to form letters. I was like, The next thing is encouraging children to explore spatial relationship. That is talking about objects, big and small objects, whether the ones that are close to you or the ones that are far from you, the ones that are big and the ones that are small. Encourage them to, this is a big object, this is a small object, this is the other object is near you. Maybe you saw a phone, you're able to identify that is at that side. Is another way how they mesh this relationship together. Big, small, near, far. Then another one is playing games that involves counting. We said that one earlier on. We talked about that. And sorting and patterns. Patterns is very, very important. Know how to arrange in patterns. Sorting also, you gather different colors, different colors of. I used to see that for most of our schools, they only do it when they have inter-house sports. I used to see most of them, they do that when they have inter-house sports. That's where you see them go and sort and all that. But that should not be done only the day they have inter-house sport or the day they have sport. It's supposed to be done every day in the class. If you are teaching a particular topic, you want to teach them how to count. Yes, get the building blocks, keep it there for them to count. Or you can go downstairs, the staircase, you use that, count one after the other. You climb one, climb two, like that. If you feel that you want to teach them shapes, fine. You gather them around. Before you know, you play this game, just like our mathematics teacher one that came, used to teach us till today. I've not forgotten that thing. I used to tell us, he was teaching us shapes, triangle, circle, rectangle, and all that. He was teaching us triangle. And when he taught us triangle and he taught us circle, he told us we sit around and he started singing. That's where I learned it. The song is The Fire on the Mountain. That's where I learned it. And at the end, he said, what shape is that? And they mentioned that the shape. And they told in the middle where you are standing is the radius. And I was like, I did not know. As always, when I grew up, as I was growing around, discovered. Since that time, I've not forgotten that. And at times I do say to my son, my daughter, and as the case may be. So this is very, very important. If our schools could just do this, and a platform where whenever they have I think Madam Kuzan talked about mindset. If our schools could have a platform where they give an orientation. Back then, who cares? Our mathematics teacher, you see their faces. And if it's a woman that comes to teach you mathematics, they will say the woman is ugly. She's not fine. That anybody that as of that time, and truly as of that time, see any woman that comes to teach you mathematics, she's not fine. and and stuff like that. Immediately you have that kind of mentality. And when the woman comes, the way she even writes the thing on the board, she's coming with a big thing. Or I went to an army school. She's coming with cow skin, koboko, the ones that these army men they use. She's coming with that. How do you learn in that kind of scenario? So if there's a forum where they could, change their mindset, talk to them on, change their mindset, that when you are teaching these children, use symbols, use manipulatives, use illustration, See, I used to tell those that order to hear that women, they are the best mathematicians on this planet Earth. I give it to women, they are the best, because do you know why? There's a particular mathematics that is done that you can never defeat a woman, whether you like it or not. And that is proportion. Women, they cook, most of the times they're the ones cooking. So when they're in the kitchen, I used to ask myself, who taught them? Who taught them how the quantity of Maggi to use, the quantity of salt to use, the quantity of oil, water, vegetable, and so on and so on. And I used to look at that that process is known as proportion, variation, and it's a topic in mathematics. So that is practical. It is practical. You don't need to go and write on the board direct variation, indirect variation. No. Or direct proportion, indirect proportion. No. That is practical. You see it live. And there's nobody that sees that. There's no child that sees that something will not be, the person will not take down something into his conscious and subconscious mind. That is that. So we will try in our little way to, we talked about mindset, we talked about patience, we talked about compensation. Madam Olivia said compensation. If there can be a forum where all these things are discussed, I think our children will go far in maths. Thank you so much. Do we have any other thing to say? Thank you so much, Madam Kuzan, Madam Phoebe, Madam Ukem. Do we have any question?
Mine is not a question.
Sir,
Okay. So Madam Kuzan first, please. Yes.
Okay. So I think mine is not a question, but the last speaker said something that I think is very key, especially when it comes to, supporting literacy and numeracy, especially for children or our children, whereby she said that, parents were brought and taught some of these approaches. I think that is very important because if our parents had such opportunity to be trained on some of these approaches, and then, looking at the way society is currently, where you don't even have time as a parent, but having these, integrating some of these math concepts in everything you do, your routines, playing those games with I think not only does it help the child, but also helps the parent, the relationship with your child. I think going back to looking at the theories, whereby, you have that time to spend with your child, the child is learning from you, you're picking up some of those characteristics and behaviors. You also, as a parent, you're also learning from your child. You are also looking at, the motor sensory skills of the child. So I think, having both the teachers with the skills and the parents also involved, because it said playing games that involve counting, sorting, patterning. I think these are things that as a parent you can also do with your child, and or as a teacher you can encourage parents to do with their own children. It will help the child, help the parent-child relationship, and also parents like me that have realized that it's very easy to learn math, using these concepts and approaches to math. So yes, I think it's a very good one, and just wanted to just add more to what she said. Unfortunately, too, we have seen in some parts of this country, in Nigeria too, whereby teachers will be taught on these approaches to teaching math, but then they just think it's a different, that you're adding more work to them. I don't see how you're adding more work to them. I think it's even making it more easy for them, to be more relaxed, teaching math and all that. And then before you know it, they go back to status quo, teaching children with a big cane and, looking very, I used to wonder why is that all math teachers, I don't know for others, but for me, all math teachers were very ugly. Was it deliberate? So, but changing those narratives, changing that, I think it's really good, integrating and incorporating some of these things. Someone was saying that his child, you ask him 1 + 1, the child will be looking at you, but say 1 naira plus 1 naira, and the child will tell you 2 naira. So using daily, those things that the child can resonate with very easily. I give you 1 biscuit, I give you a pack of biscuits with 4, biscuits inside, and you eat 2 and you give me 1. How many do you have left? Things like that. So I think, yes, it's quite good that we have that, and I have been benefiting from it because it makes it easy for me now to do math. Thank you. I just wanted to add a bit to it. Yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Madam Kuza. Thank you so much. I really like the contribution. Thank you so much. Madam Phoebe, you want to say something?
Yes, just like I have 2 points to give. Some schools put up this title of we are Montessori schools, but they don't understand the concept. There are some local schools that they will put on this title of international school, all in the name of they want to make money. And parents with a narrow mindset will put their children all in the name of they operate Montessori system. And the school, they themselves know they don't really practice this Montessori, because Montessori system of education goes a very long way, more than this. And the children, or I would say the children we have now are now digital children that believe in practical. They want to see. They don't want this theoretical aspect. They are tired of theoretical aspect. Like, I have some friends in my class. They'll be like, we need to see that thing you are teaching us. And most of these children now, they know more than we teachers. They've gone a long way. They've been exposed to so many things. So I believe if schools can be sincere with themselves, in this, my school is a Montessori, we are practicing Montessori, and they are not practicing it. It will really help us in making our children better. Also, some schools recruit less competent teachers, all in the name of they are resourceful. They are trying to minimize costs. They will, instead of recruiting competent teachers, they go for less experienced teachers, and putting much pressure on them that, I'm paying you 20,000 naira. You have to make sure that these children learn. Like that incident that happened in Ikorodu, a teacher slapping a child. I believe it was it's as a result of frustration. It's out of frustration. You don't know what the teacher might have gone through. The teacher might not have taught before. You have some schools that once a cleaner just goes for OND, the teacher, they believe the teacher is qualified. They recruit the teachers. So if schools can be sincere with themselves, I feel it will go a long way. And also parents. So parents keep their responsibilities for the school. They believe the school should do 90% of what they should be doing. Me as a parent, when my first and second born were in secondary school, every weekend they weren't staying with me, they were staying with my mom because of work and everything. Every weekend I go there, and the school will be like, the owner of the school will be like, please, be careful. She will want to see in total, and she will pick mistakes. So they are always careful. Now they know I know what is happening. What about those people, those parents that are illiterate? What do you want them to do in such a situation? Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I have experienced ladies in this program. Thank you so much, Madam Phoebe, for that contribution. Madam Olivia, do you have anything to add? Madam Kem, do you have anything to add to that? Anything, any contribution to add to what we have said?
Okay, I'll add something to this. They have done a lot of justice to the topic. One of the things I must say, unlike the past ages where children struggle with mathematics,
Madam Kem, you are breaking. Madam Kem?
must be intentional. We must it starts from an engaging learning environment. Hello, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, go on.
Can
Go
you
on.
hear
I can
me?
hear you.
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you. Go on.
I said that we have to be intentional in teaching mathematics. A lot of schools have these maybe people that are skilled, at least skilled enough to teach in early childhood classes, but then the environment is not engaging. So we must create a math rich environment. There should be displays and things that will let the child start loving the environment and see that place as a place of fun, where the entire thing will be geared towards learning. But if the environment is not rich enough, I believe it will be boring for the child because of their age. So the educators can display numbers, shapes, and patterns, and all of those things, flashcards in the classroom, in the playground. They should have balloons and things that point them to counting patterns, this and that. They will use label containers, counting charts, things like that, so as to incorporate mathematics into their everyday routine. So when they are doing this, when they are doing that, when they are even playing, they are touching these concepts in one way or the other. So if we do that, children that should have frowned at mathematics or find it so boring or distance themselves from it, we will not feel that way from this formative age. So we will bring mathematics closer to them as part of everyday life. They can use real life objects. They are like my children's school. They have a lot of these things. They will touch nature, and anything they are doing, they are touching mathematics. So mathematics can be incorporated or integrated into their daily activities. And so the same with what one of us said. If like my children's school, they record some of these things and send to parents. They also display on Facebook. So from most of the activities they do, when my children return, I still engage them in some of those things because I've seen what they are doing, the flashcards they are using, how they take the children for outdoor learning, and they show them patterns in nature. You see the children plucking leaves, counting the number of leaves they plucked. You see them arranging them. You see them, all those things will make mathematics fun. And I tell you, any child that goes through that will not be afraid of solving mathematical problems, because it should be something he or she is already part of. That's what I want to say or add
Oh,
to what we've said.
all right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Madam Kem. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you, Madam Kuzan. That was wonderful. And Madam Phoebe, all the contributions were awesome. If there's any other thing that I want to say, with that, we want to call it a day. We've come to the end of today's class. We want to call it a day. Any other thing, any other question, contribution Okay. With the absence of none, I think we should call it a day. Thank you so much, Madam Kem, for being part of today's class. Madam Kuzan, Madam Phoebe, and also Madam Olivia. I appreciate you so much. It's already weekend, so I'll say happy weekend and do have a lovely night rest. Bye.
When is
Thank
our
you.
next class, sir?
Okay, tomorrow is our next class.
6 p.m.
The same time, yes.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
everybody.
Thank
All
Thank you,
right.
you.
Thank
everybody.
you. Good night.
Miss
Good night.
Nkem, Miss
Bye.
Kuzan, Miss Olivia, good night.
Good night. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good
All
night.
right.
I was completely off. I just got restored and then I realized the class is
Okay.
ending.
All right, Madam Olivia, good night.
Okay, good night.
Yeah.